I didn't know anything about Jewish communities. I knew nothing about Judaism. I knew nothing about Jewish history, nothing about Jewish religion. But we knew that we are Jews because of anti-Semitism and because of discrimination.
As an American Jew, we were always aware that there were Jews throughout the world who were not free.
And more, the discussion about getting the Soviet Jews out of the Soviet Union.
We saw the strength of the collective Jewish world coming together as one.
We were at the height of anti-Semitism, and yet here was this window, this great opportunity to bring Jews home.
This was a moment where we coalesced and we acted as one.
We brought Judaism, modern Judaism, and Israeli spirit into the people of Soviet Jewry.
We had to organize this demonstration. 10 Jews standing in the center of Moscow with the slogans, "Let my people go, give us visas to Israel," and so on. And standing for 5 minutes. Such a way that KGB will not know in advance, but at least one foreign journalist do know in advance and will come and will report. On the 4th of July, my wife and I had our chuppah, and on the 5th of July, she left for Israel. So we hoped it will be for a few months. It happened so that we met 12 years after this.
At the 80s, when we realized that something is happening under Gorbachev, I was recruited by key people from the Jewish Agency who approached me in Europe, and they asked me if I'm ready to write a master plan for the Jewish Agency in the Soviet Union.
Clearly we were going to do this. This was an opportunity to demonstrate to really world Jewry that we could step up and do what had to be done.
Or it could come from a need, and then leaders have to jump in and stack hands and say, okay, we're really going to lead this.
In general, of course, I knew practically nothing, and they did their best to convince me that I'm alone, that everybody abandoned me. They knew very well that they are lying. I was absolutely sure Jews of the world are fighting for our release. And I was also very absolutely sure that my wife will not let anybody to sit quiet.
Natan's release wasn't the end of the plight for Soviet Jewry, hardly. There were still millions of Jews in the Soviet Union, even after Natan's release, who were not let go, which brings us to December of 1987, where there was a historic march on Washington, D.C. More than 250,000 people assembled in an unprecedented display of Jewish solidarity in support of the Jews of Russia.
We saw people coming forward that never before were involved, but for this cause, they really all mobilized.
The crucial year was 87. In 87, Gorbachev made a decision. Exodus is a possibility.
When they opened the flights directly to Moscow, the most exciting thing was to greet a plane.
It was very quiet on the plane. Usually there were overnight flights. Be with them on board, they were exhausted, totally exhausted. They knew where they were heading, to Israel, but they didn't know what they were heading to.
I remember some of them coming off the plane and kissing the ground. Kissing the ground. The people that I brought, the Americans, that they saw all of this, and they went home and they led the campaigns in their own community.
The number of professionals, the number of doctors is doubled in 2 years in the country. The number of engineers is growing 60%. No doubt it changed the fate of Soviet Jews, but it also changed the fate of Israel.
And to see what Israel is today from 40 years ago, the first time I went, or from the times that I went during the missions, it's an entirely different country, and a huge part of that is because of the migration of the Olim who came from the former Soviet Union.
The lesson of Operation Exodus is that there's strength in numbers when we work together. It took a huge effort to make this happen. You can't absorb 1 million people overnight without the human investment in time and energy, and most of all, heart.
And it was done by Jewish community in our days.
No one as a Jew should feel that he is by himself.
It's not just Jews in America that care about Jews in Israel or Jews around the world, but it's Jews around the world who care about Jews around the world.
My sense is that the takeaway of the Great March on Washington and the entire Operation Exodus is that collectively we can really change the course of history. We did change the course of history. And particularly today, when we have so many challenges confronting the community, we need to find ways to recapture that unity and to change the course of history in the same way.